What do you picture when you hear the words Ice Age? Maybe a woolly mammoth trudging through a snowy landscape, or perhaps a saber-toothed cat on the prowl. These images are breathtaking, yet they reveal only a fleeting glimpse of one of the most extraordinary and transformative chapters in Earth's history. Think of the Ice Age not as one long winter, but as a repeating cycle of freezes that changed the shape of the world over millions of years. Today, we are traveling into the past to strip away the frozen surface and reveal the fascinating history of the Ice Age. What caused it? What was life really like? And most importantly, could it happen again? Let's find out. To begin, let us gently unravel a common misconception, one that often clouds our understanding and deserves a moment of clarity before we move forward. When we talk about the Ice Age, we're usually referring to the most recent one, the Pleistocene epoch, which started about 2.6 million years ago and ended just around 11,700 years ago. But Earth has experienced at least 5 major ice ages throughout its 4.5 billion year history. These are vast periods when global temperatures drop and massive ice sheets and glaciers expand across the continents. So, what flips the switch on Earth's climate system? It's not one single thing, but a complex dance of cosmic and terrestrial factors. One of the biggest drivers is something called Milankovitch cycles. A Serbian scientist named Milutin Milankovic figured out that Earth's orbit around the Sun is imperfectly stable. It wobbles, tilts, and stretches over long periods. The shape of our orbit changes from more circular to more elliptical over about 100,000 years. The tilt of Earth's axis, which gives us our seasons, shifts back and forth every 41,000 years. And our planet wobbles like a spinning top on a 26,000-year cycle. When these cycles align in just the right way, less sunlight hits the northern hemisphere during the summer. The result? Winter snow doesn't completely melt. It piles up year after year, compacts into ice, and begins to form colossal glaciers. But orbital cycles aren't the whole story. The Earth itself plays a huge role. Tectonic plates are constantly moving, rearranging the continents and oceans. When landmasses cluster near the poles, like Antarctica is today, it makes it easier for ice sheets to form and grow. Mountain ranges, pushed up by colliding plates, can also alter wind patterns and create colder, snowier conditions. Then there's the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide and methane, act like a blanket, trapping heat. If their levels drop, the planet cools. Volcanic eruptions, for example, can spew ash into the atmosphere, temporarily blocking sunlight and causing cooling. Over geological time, these processes work together, pushing Earth's climate past a tipping point and into an ice age. During the peak of the last glacial period, around 20,000 years ago, the world was almost unrecognizable. Ice sheets, some over 2 miles thick, covered nearly a third of Earth's land surface. All of Canada, much of the northern United States, and northern Europe were buried under this immense weight of ice. The sheer volume of water locked up in these glaciers caused sea levels to drop by a staggering 400 feet. This exposed vast new areas of land. You could have walked from Siberia to Alaska across a land bridge called Beringia. The British Isles were connected to mainland Europe. Southeast Asia was part of a single landmass called Sunderland. The world map was completely redrawn. So what did life look like in this frozen realm? It was harsh and unforgiving, but life, as it always does, found ways to endure and adapt. The stars of the show were, of course, the megafauna, the giant animals of the Pleistocene. We're talking about the iconic woolly mammoths, with their shaggy coats and enormous curved tusks, perfectly adapted to the cold. There were woolly rhinos, giant ground sloths that could reach the size of an elephant, and the fearsome saber-toothed cats. or Smilodon, with their terrifying 8-inch canine teeth. In North America, you'd find massive short-faced bears, which were larger than any bear alive today, and herds of giant bison. The ancient landscape was dominated by colossal beasts. These creatures wandered through the Mammoth Steppes, immense, frigid, and arid stretches of grassland. Far from being a frozen wasteland, these steppes were thriving habitats that hosted a wide variety of grazing animals and the hunters that followed them. The plants were hardy grasses, herbs, and shrubs capable of surviving the harsh conditions. This environment stretched from Spain across Eurasia and all the way to Canada. And living among these incredible beasts were our own ancestors. Far from just scraping by, our early ancestors actually flourished during the extreme conditions of the Ice Age. They were skilled hunters and resourceful gatherers. They developed sophisticated stone tools, learned to control fire for warmth and cooking, and created clothing from animal hides to protect themselves from the brutal cold. They lived in small nomadic groups, following the herds of mammoths, reindeer, and bison that were their primary source of food. This period also saw an explosion of human creativity in caves across Europe, like Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain. Our ancestors left behind breathtaking works of art. They painted vivid images of the animals they lived alongside, horses, bison, and mammoths, using pigments made from minerals and charcoal. These paintings give us an intimate glimpse into their world, their beliefs, and their deep connection with nature. They also carved intricate figurines, like the famous Venus of Willendorf, and crafted jewelry from shells, teeth, and bone. The challenges of the Ice Age didn't just test human resilience. They sparked our ingenuity and our imagination. So, what brought this icy world to an end? Around 11,700 years ago, the planet began to warm rapidly. The same Milankovitch cycles that pushed us into the Ice Age began to shift back. More summer sunlight started reaching the northern hemisphere. The great ice sheets, which had dominated the landscape for thousands of years, began a dramatic and sometimes chaotic retreat. This wasn't a gentle thaw. It was a period of massive environmental upheaval. As the glaciers melted, they released unimaginable quantities of fresh water. This led to catastrophic floods. In North America, the melting of a giant ice dam unleashed Lake Missoula, a glacial lake larger than some of the modern Great Lakes. It sent a wall of water hundreds of feet high, roaring across what is now Washington and Oregon, carving out the landscape in a matter of days. Sea levels rose quickly, submerging the land bridges and reshaping the coastlines we know today. The end of the Ice Age was also a time of great extinction. As the climate warmed and the mammoth steppes gave way to forests, many of the megafauna struggled to adapt. The woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant sloths, and many other large mammals disappeared forever. Experts are still trying to solve the mystery. Was the sudden transformation of the Earth's environment the true culprit? Or was it the arrival of humans, whose growing skill as hunters pushed these species over the edge? This is the core of the overkill hypothesis. Perhaps a perfect storm of both climate and hunting was to blame. No matter the cause, the loss of these giants brought down the curtain on a long and storied chapter of Earth's history. This brings us to a fascinating question. Are we still in an ice age? Geologically speaking, the answer is yes. We are currently living in an interglacial period, a warmer spell between glacial advances. Ice sheets still cover Greenland and Antarctica. If all that ice were to melt, sea levels would rise by over 200 feet. The long-term climate cycles suggest that, without human influence, Earth would likely be heading towards another glacial period over the next several thousand years. However, we've thrown a huge wrench into the works. Ever since the Industrial Age began, our habit of burning coal, oil, and gas has flooded the atmosphere with carbon dioxide, moving far faster than any natural process. We are heating the Earth with such speed that the planet's natural rhythms have been completely overwhelmed and left behind. Earth has veered off its path toward a slow, natural deep freeze, and is instead spiraling into a period of intense heat. Some scientists believe our actions may have already delayed or even cancelled the next ice age for at least the next 100,000 years. The story of the Ice Age is a powerful reminder of how dynamic and ever-changing our planet is. It reveals how suddenly the world's environment can pivot, triggering a domino effect that reshapes the very foundations of life on Earth. By examining historical evidence, such as glacial ice samples, prehistoric remains, and ancestral terrains, we can decode the mechanisms that drive our planet and acquire vital knowledge for addressing modern environmental crises. The glacial era was more than a simple age of ice and ancient giants. It served as a transformative period that shaped our modern environment and profoundly influenced the trajectory of human evolution. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the story of our planet. See you next time. The saga of the Ice Age
See you next
stands
time.
as a poignant reminder that our world is not static, but rather a restless and ever-shifting environment.